I'm a 23-year-old woman, fresh out of college and trying to figure out life, but I never expected to get into the mess I did with Tyler, my best friend Jenna's older brother. Tyler was always the cool one, you know? The kind of guy who would stroll into a room, and the whole vibe would change. He was 26, a few years older than me, but somehow, we'd always gotten along. You'd think that would make him more trustworthy, right? Wrong. I first met him back in high school when Jenna and I started hanging out. Tyler was always doing his own thing, off with his buddies, living the life. But when he did pop by to visit, he was charming, funny, and had this kind of magnetic energy that made everyone want to be around him. But it wasn't until recently, just a few months ago, that things really started to go downhill. I had been doing some side hustles, trying to make a little extra cash. And, like any broke 23-year-old, I had a list of people I trusted to give me advice when I was struggling. Jenna was one of them, obviously. But Tyler? Well, Tyler started noticing how much I was working, how much I was putting into these side gigs. He was always asking questions, acting like he wanted to help. And I guess, for a second, I bought into it. After all, he was family. He cared, right? But here's where the story flips. He approached me with a business deal. He'd just gotten into this amazing new investment opportunity. At first, I was skeptical. Tyler wasn't exactly the sharpest businessman I knew. But he was smooth. The way he talked about it, how he said it was a guaranteed win, made me second-guess myself. Trust me, I've got it all figured out. You'll make a ton, he promised. You just have to make a small investment to get in. I wasn't stupid. I knew how these things went. But I also knew how broke I was and how much I needed something to work out in my favor. So, I did it. I scraped together what I could, my savings, some borrowed cash from my parents, and sent it to him. I figured if it failed, at least I could say I tried. But let me tell you, this was no investment opportunity. This was a scam. A few weeks went by, and I started asking Tyler about the returns. He was always busy, always waiting on the numbers, always it's coming, just give it some time. I felt like a fool, but I kept holding on to hope. After all, he was family, right? The tipping point came when I tried to contact him one night, and he completely ghosted me. No response to texts. No calls returned. It didn't make sense. The more time passed, the more I realized I'd been played. Tyler had scammed me. And I had no idea how deep it went. So here I was, a month later, sitting on my couch, trying to figure out what the hell to do next. I wasn't about to go to the police. I knew I'd look like a complete idiot if I did. I didn't want to cause drama with Jenna either. But I couldn't let this slide. I needed my money back. And then, out of nowhere, Tyler shows up at my door one evening. No warning. Just knocks. I didn't even want to answer at first, but curiosity got the best of me. I opened the door, and there he was, looking absolutely nothing like the guy I'd trusted a few months ago. He was wearing the same old hoodie, but his eyes were different. They looked desperate. That's when I felt the first chill creep down my spine. "Hey," he said, scratching the back of his neck like he wasn't standing there with a huge debt he owed me. Listen. I'm in a tough spot. Do you think you could help me out? I just need a loan. It's a bit urgent." I froze. My heart dropped into my stomach. The audacity of this guy. He had scammed me out of my savings, and now he was showing up at my door like everything was fine, asking for a loan? I couldn't believe it. I didn't even know what to say. I just stared at him, feeling the tension build up in the air between us. But then I noticed something else, something in the way he was standing. The way his hands were twitching. This wasn't just a casual request. Something was off. And it was the moment that I realized Tyler's not just in a tough spot. He's in deep. The moment I didn't expect was when he met my gaze, and for the first time in all our years of knowing each other, I saw something I never thought I'd see in his eyes: guilt. What the hell was going on? Why now? Why after everything that had happened? I still don't know. But I'm about to find out. So, Tyler's standing there, asking for a loan. I'm still processing what just happened, how he scammed me, then came back here like he hadn't just stolen my savings. I'm staring at him, trying to make sense of the situation, and it feels like the whole world's gone silent. But then Tyler speaks again, and it's like a slap in the face. "Please," he says, his voice shaking a little, "I really need your help. This is bad. It's really bad, and I don't have anywhere else to turn." I look at him, trying to figure out if he's serious or if this is just some twisted game. I can't wrap my head around it. A month ago, I was texting him, asking about the investment, about my money. He avoided me, but now he's here, playing the "I need help" card like it's nothing. The nerve. The absolute nerve. "You have to be kidding me," I mutter, shaking my head. "You scammed me, Tyler. You took my money. And now you're asking for a loan? After everything?" He winces like I slapped him, but doesn't say anything right away. Instead, he steps forward just a little, like he's trying to bridge the gap between us. I want to step back. I want to slam the door in his face. But I don't. I'm frozen. It's like he's got some hold on me I can't shake off. "Look," he says, his voice lower now, almost pleading, "I know what I did was wrong. I know I screwed you over. I've been trying to fix things. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to go down the way it did. It just happened. Things got out of hand." I don't believe him. Not for a second. But he's standing there, staring at me like he's desperate, like his whole world is crumbling around him, and I feel this twisted part of me that's almost sympathetic. Almost. I shake my head again, trying to clear the fog. "Out of hand? You scammed me, Tyler. That's not just something that happens." I feel my fists ball up, but I try to calm myself down. I can't let him see how much he's rattled me. He knows he's in a bad spot, and I can feel it. He's not just asking for money. There's something else behind this. He starts pacing back and forth, rubbing his hands over his face like he can't stand to look at me. And then, in this moment of complete stupidity, or maybe desperation, I don't know, he drops the bomb. "I got in too deep with the wrong people," he says, his words quick, like he wants to get it out before I can cut him off. "And now they're after me. Jenna's going to find out everything, and I'm screwed. I need the money, and I need it fast. Please, I'm begging you." Everything inside me freezes. This is no longer about the scam. This is about something much worse, something I'm not sure I want to even get involved in. My stomach churns, my brain races. Who is he mixed up with? And why me? Why would he come to me of all people? For a second, I want to just slam the door in his face and tell him to figure it out on his own. But I can't do that. Not when I see the fear in his eyes. Not when it hits me that maybe, just maybe, he's not lying. Maybe he really isn't over his head. "Who are these people, Tyler?" I ask, the words coming out slower than I mean them to. I don't know if I want the answer. But I need it. He hesitates, then mutters, I can't really say. But if you help me, I'll tell you everything. Please, I don't want to drag you into this mess. But I can't go to anyone else. It doesn't add up. Nothing about this adds up. I feel like I'm trapped in a web, and Tyler's the spider, spinning this tangled mess of half-truths and desperation. I take a step back, crossing my arms, trying to keep some distance between us. You're telling me that if I don't help, you're going to just disappear? Or worse, you'll drag me into whatever mess you've gotten yourself into? What's your plan, Tyler? He looks like I've hit him in the gut. His face falls, and he looks away, like he's ashamed. Like the weight of what he's done is finally hitting him. For a split second, I almost feel bad for him. I can see it in his face, he's scared. Scared of the people he's messed with. Scared of losing everything. I don't want you to be a part of this, he repeats, softer now. But I don't have a choice. I just need you to help me, and then I'll figure it out. I promise. I'll pay you back. Just please, don't let them come after me. I'm not asking for much. My mind's racing. Everything he's saying is a mess of contradictions. 1 minute, he's admitting his mistakes, and the next, he's dragging me into this web of lies and shady dealings. I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know what's real. But I do know this, if I help him, there's no going back. And somehow, the worst part is that I'm seriously considering it. I can't tell you how long I stood there, staring at Tyler while my mind tried to make sense of the mess he just dropped on me. A part of me wanted to tell him to get the hell out of my life for good. But then, something stopped me. Something in the way he was looking at me, like he knew how badly I wanted to walk away, but he was asking me not to. It felt like I was stuck in some weird limbo, torn between what I should do and what I wanted to do. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the door in his face and never think about him again. But there was that little nagging voice in my head telling me that this wasn't over yet. That if I didn't do something now, it might only get worse. All right, I finally said, my voice a little too shaky for my liking. I'll help you. I didn't even know why I said it. Maybe I was just tired of feeling like a helpless victim. Maybe I thought helping him would finally give me some kind of control over the situation. But whatever the reason, there I was, opening the door just enough to let him in. He stepped over the threshold, but he didn't sit down. Tyler had always been the kind of guy who never really liked to stay in one place for too long. It was almost like he was avoiding being still, like if he stopped moving, everything around him would catch up and fall apart. I gestured to the couch, but he just shook his head. "Do you have somewhere we can talk privately?" he asked, his voice suddenly serious. I raised an eyebrow. "Why? You don't think I'll listen to you if I'm sitting down on a couch?" He gave a small, forced laugh, but I could see that something was off. That familiar confidence of his, the one that used to make me trust him, was slipping, and in its place was something else. Desperation. Fear. "Just trust me," he said, not meeting my eyes. Against my better judgment, I led him into the small office space I'd turned into my little work nook. It wasn't much, just a desk, a chair, and some files scattered around. But it was private. And that's what he wanted. He closed the door behind him and stood by the window, looking out at nothing in particular. I watched him for a moment, waiting for him to speak. "Okay, so what's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who are these people? And why the hell should I trust you now?" He sighed, finally turning to face me. "You won't believe me," he said, his tone quieter now. "But I've been mixed up with some people I shouldn't have gotten involved with. I thought it was just going to be some quick money, you know? The kind of deal that makes sense on paper, but I didn't realize how deep it went. And now I'm stuck." I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't just scared about losing money. This was something worse. Something bigger. "Who are they?" I pressed, even though I didn't want to know. I felt like opening this door was a huge mistake. Tyler swallowed hard, his throat working as if he was trying to force the words out but couldn't. I can't say. Not yet. But they're dangerous, okay? They don't care about who you are, they just care about what you've got. And right now, I'm in deep with them. They know I've been using other people to get money that I don't have anymore. And they're coming for me, Jen. They're coming for both of us. The name hit me like a ton of bricks. He hadn't just roped me into this mess, he dragged Jenna into it, too. My best friend. His sister. I felt the blood drain from my face, and my chest tightened. What the hell are you talking about? I whispered. He stepped closer, lowering his voice even more. I was supposed to pay them back, these guys I owe money to. But when I got caught up in this whole thing, I couldn't. And now they've threatened Jenna. I don't want her involved, Jen. But I don't have any other options. If I don't pay them soon, they're going to come after her. And I won't let that happen. I can't. I swear, my world just flipped upside down. I had no idea what to do with the information. Everything I thought I knew about Tyler, about our friendship, was suddenly being questioned. Was he telling the truth? Or was this just another lie to get me to do his bidding? But then I looked at him again. There was no arrogance in his eyes anymore. No cocky grin. Just pure, raw fear. For the first time in as long as I could remember, Tyler was afraid. And I couldn't tell if it was fear for himself or for Jenna, but it didn't matter. I was in this now. And whether I liked it or not, there was no backing out. Okay, I said, my voice cold and hard. I'll give you the loan. But only because I have to. You're going to fix this, Tyler. You're going to get us out of this mess, and you're going to make sure Jen is safe. If you don't, I swear, I will never speak to you again. Got it? He nodded, his face visibly relieved. But I could see something else in his expression too, something that made me feel even more unsettled than before. He wasn't just thankful. He was relieved. Almost like he didn't think I'd agree. And now, I had no idea how much deeper I was about to fall into this mess. I thought handing over the money would give me some sense of control. I thought if I just did what Tyler asked, if I helped him out of this mess, things would eventually settle down. But the moment I handed him that cash, I could feel a knot tighten in my stomach. He'd promised me he'd pay me back, he said it would all be over soon. But with every word he said, with every look he gave, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a money problem. This was bigger than both of us. I remember the day he came to pick up the money. We agreed to meet at a park near my place. It was the kind of place where no one would ask questions. Tyler showed up, looking even more ragged than the last time I saw him. There were dark circles under his eyes, his clothes were wrinkled like he hadn't bothered to change in days. And the worst part? He was holding a duffel bag that looked way too heavy for just cash. Here's the cash, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But Tyler, I need you to tell me what's really going on. I need answers. I can't keep doing this blindly. Tyler shifted on his feet, glancing around nervously, like he was expecting someone to jump out at him. I told you everything I could, he muttered, not looking me in the eye. Just trust me. It'll be over soon. I wanted to scream. This wasn't just some soon. I could feel it deep in my gut. This was spiraling. And I was right. As he reached for the cash, a black car rolled up to the curb. The kind of car that shouldn't be pulling up to a park at 10 in the morning. I didn't have to look twice to know something was off. The two men stepping out of it had that we own the world look. They weren't the kind of guys you wanted to cross. Tyler froze. I could see the panic flash across his face. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't some small-time deal he'd gotten into. These guys were bad news. Real bad news. Tyler, one of them called out, his voice sharp. Is that the payment? You're late. I froze too. The air between us felt thick, like something heavy was about to happen. I wanted to run, but my feet were stuck to the ground. Tyler turned toward the men slowly, as if every movement had to be calculated. He smiled, but it was forced, thin, stretched. Yeah. It's all here. No need to get worked up. It's all taken care of. One of the men sneered. Is it? You're still short, Tyler. And you know what happens when people don't keep their word. I watched the scene unfold, trying to piece together the puzzle in my head. What was going on here? How deep was Tyler really in? And why was I still standing here, helping him? Before I could ask anything else, the other guy stepped forward. Who's the girl? He asked, his eyes scanning me, sizing me up. I tried not to flinch. I'm no one, I said quickly, my voice shaky. Just someone trying to get their money back. Tyler shot me a look, one that said everything without saying a word. It was a warning. A silent plea for me to shut up, to stay out of it. But I wasn't backing down. You didn't tell me the whole truth, Tyler, I said, my voice a little firmer this time. Who are these guys? What are you really involved in? Tyler opened his mouth to say something, but before he could get a word out, one of the men grabbed his arm. Shut up, kid. You've already said too much. I felt like the world was crashing down around me. I'd known something was off, but this was next level. These men weren't just collectors, they were dangerous. And somehow, I had gotten tangled up in all of it. You're with them? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. But it was already too late. Tyler's expression told me everything I needed to know. He was in so deep, I could barely see the surface anymore. This wasn't just some small scam. This was organized. This was dangerous. The man who had spoken earlier turned to me now, his gaze cold. This doesn't concern you, sweetheart. Go home. But I wasn't leaving. Not now. Not after everything I had put into this. You think I'm just going to walk away after what's been happening? You think I'm just going to pretend I'm not involved? I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. You're going to answer my questions. The man laughed, a low, menacing sound. Cute. But no! I glanced at Tyler again, and in that moment, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Guilt? Shame? I couldn't tell, but I could tell he was scared. And for the first time, I realized something. Tyler didn't want to be here. He didn't want this life. But it was too late for him to back out. Too deep in. The tension between all of us was thick, like any wrong move would set everything off. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, making it harder to breathe. I had no idea what to do next. But I knew one thing for sure, there was no going back from this. I was in this mess now, and I had no idea how much further I was about to fall. I honestly didn't think I'd make it out of that park. It felt like the world was collapsing, like every decision I'd ever made had led me right to that moment, standing there with a duffel bag full of money, staring down two men who looked like they could end my life without a second thought. My heart was pounding so hard, it was like it was trying to beat its way out of my chest. And Tyler? He was barely standing at this point, like the weight of everything had crushed him. I saw it in his eyes, regret, fear. For the first time in a long time, Tyler looked like the scared kid I used to know. The men were backing down. Their eyes were cold, calculating. But something shifted in the air, maybe it was because I wasn't backing off either. I don't know, maybe it was stupid, but I wasn't about to let Tyler drown alone in this mess. Not after everything. Not after how he practically begged me for help, promising it would all be over soon. But that wasn't the reality. Not anymore. What's going on here? I finally managed to ask, the words scraping past the tightness in my throat. I wasn't sure if I was asking them or Tyler, but either way, I needed answers. One of the men smirked, his gaze flickering over to Tyler. "You don't need to know anything, sweetheart," he said, the sneer in his voice unmistakable. "You're just in the way." Something inside me snapped. I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't scared of them. Or maybe I was, but I was too angry to care. The situation had turned way past the point of no return, and I wasn't about to let anyone walk over me, especially not Tyler. Not after everything we'd been through, after I'd helped him out of this mess, only to find out how deep it really went. I stood up straighter, facing the men directly. "You're going to tell me what's going on. Right now." The man who had spoken to me before raised an eyebrow. "And if we don't?" He took a step forward, but I didn't flinch. "I don't give a damn what you do," I shot back, "but if you hurt him, if you hurt anyone I care about, I'll make sure everyone knows what's going on here." Tyler's head whipped toward me, his eyes wide in disbelief. "Jen, what are you?" But I didn't care what he thought anymore. I was done being the pawn in this messed up game he dragged me into. "No more lies, Tyler. Tell me the truth. Who are these people?" For a moment, it was like the world stopped spinning. The men went quiet, sizing me up like I was some kind of threat. The tension was so thick, you could have sliced it with a knife. And then, Tyler let out a shaky breath, his hands trembling as he looked at the men, his people. They work for a syndicate," Tyler finally muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "I got into this investment thing, this stupid deal. And they're not forgiving. They don't care if you're family. If you don't pay them back, they take everything. I'm in too deep." The words hung in the air, but instead of feeling like a release, they just made everything worse. I had always suspected Tyler was in over his head, but this was next level. A syndicate? The moment he said it, I knew there was no going back. This wasn't just some shady deal. This was dangerous. But as much as I wanted to turn around and leave, as much as I wanted to wash my hands of this whole damn thing, I couldn't. Not when Jenna's name had been dragged into it. The men laughed, but it wasn't a funny laugh. It was cold, cruel. "Well, now that the girl knows the truth," one of them said, "let's make this clear, Tyler. You owe us. You don't get to walk away from this, no matter what story you spin." Tyler winced, and for a split second, I thought he might crumble right then and there. But then, something unexpected happened. The tension broke. Tyler spoke up. "I'll pay you," he said, his voice steady now, surprisingly calm. "I'll pay every cent. Just give me time. Please." The men exchanged glances, the smirk never leaving their faces. One of them stepped forward, his voice low and threatening. "Time's up, kid. You're on borrowed time now." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. This was it. It wasn't just about the money anymore, it was about survival. And I was standing in the middle of it all, trying to figure out how to stop everything from spiraling out of control. Then, without warning, Tyler reached into the duffel bag and pulled out something that made my blood run cold. It wasn't money. It was something worse. "Wait, Tyler, no!" I shouted as the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. But it was too late. The men weren't laughing anymore. Tyler's face had gone pale, his hand shaking as he held up a small, metallic object. A gun. "Get in the car," one of the men said to me, his voice colder than ever. Now. Everything happened so fast. One moment, I was standing there, trying to make sense of the chaos, and the next, I was shoved into the back of a car, Tyler sitting beside me, his face pale, his eyes hollow. The car started moving before I could even process what was happening. I had no idea where we were going, no idea what would happen next. But I knew one thing for sure, nothing would ever be the same again.